probably one of the most important parts of adventure racing is getting to the race prepared. Okay, so if I'm not getting ready to do a big multi-day expedition and I'm just kind of normal day-to-day, ready to race at a moment's notice, but just not go big, I would say I normally try to do at least 1 hour a day of some type of cardio every single day, which is usually trail running or mountain biking. I always carry a full loaded pack. So I'm carrying the first aid kit and a space blanket and a rain jacket. And so I'm basically always racing. I almost never exercise cardio-wise without having a full pack on. So that just trains your body to deal with the weight and everything.
Usually my training includes a bike or a run each day, like alternating. That's usually if I'm around home, that's at one of our local parks like we are right now. Then when we're out of town, we're doing just about the same thing, but we get a lot more elevation in the mountains.
Up between 6 and 7, out running on the Chessie Trail for a few miles as base work. And then if we do a hard workout, then that's it for the day. If not, layer in something else. And then a big training on the weekend. Big long trek, big long bike ride.
So what does a typical training week look like? Like many citizen adventure racers, we don't do this for a living. A full-time job that I love, mind you. A typical training week for me is I try to get out there 5 to 6 days a week before work usually. I can't cycle enough. I love it. I run begrudgingly. Usually an hour and a half before work in the morning, hour in between different errands. And then I go to a yoga practice in the evening 3 times a week, hot yoga, great for keeping my 50-year-old body in one piece.
And then on the weekends, I normally try to do another 4 to 8 hours. So also try to 3 or 4 times a week, I also try to build in some bicycles to build a little bit of ab strength, and then pull-ups, squats, push-ups, a few times a week. I'm not trying to build bulk. I just want to get enough to where I've got some upper body strength. Like if you fall off the mountain bike, I can catch myself and not get killed. So I would say normal, I'm about 12 hours of cardio and probably 2 hours of other stuff that's not cardio per week. So that's my baseline of fitness.
Every other weekend or so, we're putting in a longer session. I guess I'd call it session, but since we've been planning some virtual racing events, we've spent our time vetting courses. So you'd be surprised at how fast the hours tick away, and you realize you've been moving for this however long over the weekend.
And then on the weekend, I try to daisy chain a longer effort. It could be a big hike, could be a big paddle, a big bike ride. There's only 26 weekends in a year. And I try to make use of all 26 of them, but definitely something big. If I could do an overnight session, for example, you drive to a trailhead, you ride your bike to the beginning of the trail, X miles away, you lock your bike up, you hike back overland, back to your car, you drive back, you get your bike.
Also, peppered in there is I go see a chiropractor, thanks Justin Quayle, who's great at Giving Tree Chiropractic here in Virginia Beach. And then I alternate with going to see Jim Browning, who is an active release therapist who's also in the area and is great. So helping me work through my alignment and my SI pain. So, that sort of specific training has led me into a little bit of strength training and some, needed recovery. We've done 5 races this year already. 3 of them were 3 weeks apart. Each of them were 3 weeks apart, and they were each more than 24 hours. So after about that amount of time, I could tell I needed to just kind of let my body recover a bit. So I do have to listen to my body, and I judge, how hard I can go that day based on, what's led up.
In preparation for Ecuador, my training really hasn't changed that much because I train as much as I possibly can. I feel like I'm in a pretty good space for Ecuador. That could all change and I can get clobbered. That could very well happen. But my food is good. My weight is down. My attitude is good. I'm pretty healthy. The body's holding itself together. So I really haven't done a whole lot of changing for Ecuador. I like to, as best as possible, be race ready as much as I possibly can.
It hasn't changed a lot, except for I'm looking for big climbs on the bike, big climbs on the trek.
Whenever I put a big race on the calendar, usually we try to start stepping it up with the training, basically taking everything and adding about 30%. You just, now your runs are an hour and a half. Now your bikes are 2 hours. Now I try to do some longer weekends, maybe a 6 to 8 hour, event. So it's basically just as much training, like doing the same things you're going to do in an adventure race. We try to do that during training. So another example, here in Virginia Beach, we have a thing called Mount Trashmore because we don't have any mountains like this where we live. So we basically have this little mound of trash I think it's like 30 feet tall or 10 meters or so. And we run up and down the mountain. We go up it backwards. We go sideways so that your ankles get used to being on an incline, and always carrying the weight of a normal sized pack. And so that's basically how we train when we have to go out into these mountains and do big races. Mountain biking gets kind of hard. We actually have to head over usually about an hour to 2 hours away to actually get any decent mountain biking with some elevation on single track. Also, of course, any stairway, I would try to do some stairs up and down whenever we're approaching a big race, especially if we're expecting big elevation.
Now, racing at altitude, now that's going to be interesting. I think altitude, I'll get there 5 days before the race. I listened to a really good podcast that said, don't try to train yourself in a short 5 days. Don't exhaust yourself. Best thing to do is to acclimate as you can to the thin air, go into the race well rested, not exhausted, not needing to recover. So my plan is right up until the moment I get on the plane to go as hard as I can, to train, ride a lot, run a lot, stay flexible, keep that weight down, be race ready as much as I can, fly into keto, and then the 4 or 5 days I'm there before the race is to stay off my feet as much as I can, walk around a bit, see keto, see the beautiful Ecuadorian countryside, but really to enter the race as well rested as I could be. A common expression from triathlon is that it is better to go into a race 10% undertrained than 1% overtrained. I think delivering myself to the start line in good shape, feeling good, well rested, recovered is the best thing that I could possibly do.
We're getting to keto 8 days before the race, and that should give us plenty of time to acclimate and then just see how it feels. Try to go for some long runs, some long bike rides. I think one important component that a lot of people miss is rest. And so really pay attention to your body. And I think I don't have a specific plan. Just get there, start, see what it feels like, make sure I give myself plenty of rest and recovery time.
That's basically the training I do. Most of the time it's increase your training, your cardio, but do not get injured. Don't stress yourself. Don't really push hard. And then once you get closer to the race, you taper back a little bit. Personally, I like to keep doing something every day, even if it's just hiking or biking on gravel. I want to keep active every single day. I don't want my body to think that it can relax and get to be a couch potato right before a race. But again, I try to avoid injury and kind of taper it back so there's nothing strenuous. So that's basically how I train for one of these big races.